Hi, from the last session, you know what are the Incoterms available. In this session, we are going to see about the payment methods. There are different types of payment methods. They are advance payment, letter of credit, documentary collection, open account or open sales account, and consignment account. There is also another method called bank payment obligation method, which is not currently in practice in India. So first we shall see about the payment method, advance payment method. What is advance payment? As the name implies, in this case, the buyer will pay you as soon as they place the order with you. Advance payment is possible even for the new exporters when you choose a niche product or customized product, or it is a trial order. You can ask advance payment from your buyer. In this case, the buyer can choose to pay either full advance payment or partial payment. Mostly it will be partial payment starting from 30% or 10% to 70 or 80%. It depends upon the product and your negotiating skills. They will use the shift method, that is the bank instrument or the payment instrument, where your payment will be transferred from their bank, from your buyer's bank. Though people use telegraphic transfer, we don't use telegraphic method in current trend. SWIFT is one of the telegraphic transfer method, but here we use the SWIFT method. Advance payment is the most safest payment for the exporters. Next one is the letter of credit. There are different type of LCs available. They are irrevocable LC, revocable LC, standby LC, confirmed LC, unconfirmed LC, transferable LC, back-to-back LC, payment at site LC, deferred payment LC, red clause LC. But the most preferable LC is confirmed LC, irrevocable LC, or standby LC, or the site LC. What does it mean? Letter of credit is a expensive payment method because your buyer has to pay bank charges to open the letter of credit. But in this case, the payment will be paid between the buyer's bank to the seller's bank, but the obligation lies with the buyer's bank. Here, for example, if I am exporting my product, say desiccated coconut, from India to USA, and I have a current account with SBI and my buyer has a current account with Citibank New York, the buyer will open a letter of credit with Citibank New York and they will send me the letter of credit. And as soon as I receive the letter of credit, it is always good and better to check with your bank to see the worth of that letter of credit, whether it is really a genuine letter of credit, because there are so many scams that are happening with the letter of credit. So as soon as you receive a letter of credit, you have to check the letter of credit with your bank. In the case of letter of credit, it is very important we read through each and every terms and conditions in the LC. Before establishing a LC, the buyer will give you a draft LC, because LC is an expensive method of using. For each discrepancies or the mistakes that occurs in the LC, it will cost you to get the payment. So when you accept for the LC payment, you should check it's a confirmed site LC. What does it mean? Okay, I will export my product. I will send the product from India to USA. As soon as I send, I will have the documentations, my BL copy, my certificate of origin, whatever the documents that are mentioned in the letter of credit. I will go to my bank. I will submit that documents at the bank, and my bank will examine whether the documents I have submitted are in accordance with the letter of credit's terms and condition. As soon as it matches and as soon as it is right, the terms and conditions are matched, I will be paid, and the payment will come from my bank to my account. So my bank will send the documents to my buyer's bank, and the buyer will collect the documents from his bank to get the cargo that is exported to him. If it is irrevocable LC, once the LC is established, nobody can change the LC or withdraw the LC. But if it is revocable LC, even it is the safest payment term, if it is revocable LC, the LC can be cancelled or modified without any information or notification to exporter. If it is a standby LC, here there is a guarantee of payment to the exporter. If the buyer, even the buyer don't pay to his bank, the bank will do the payment on behalf of the buyer. So this is one of the safest LCs. In the confirmed LC, there is assurance from the buyer's bank that exporter bank is held responsible for the proper transaction. So in this case, the supplier's bank and the buyer bank confirms that the exporter will get paid. In the unconfirmed LC, the buyer bank is responsible for paying the amount to the exporter, but here exporter's bank is not responsible. In the transferable LC, the exporter will get the LC from the buyer, but what they can do is they can transfer this LC to another manufacturer. Sometimes the order quantity is big and cannot be done by one manufacturer. The supply cannot be done by one manufacturer. The buyer will keep his representative in a country and open a transferable LC. Here this exporter can keep one LC and raise multiple local LCs and give it to the manufacturers. In this case, the exporter will not get any charges to establish local LC. Back-to-back LC means, in this case, indenting agents, they will say LC is the payment. What will happen is the buyer will issue an LC to the indenting agent, and the agent can be in any other country, but they will give the LC to the exporter. Next one is the payment at site LC. In this case, as soon as I submit the documents to the bank, I will get the payment. The payment will be released immediately. Once the shipment is done, it is important that we submit the document to the bank within 21 days or within a week or as soon as possible. Then only we will get the payment. In the deferred payment LC, the documents will be submitted to the bank, but in this case, bank need not pay the exporter immediately after receiving the documents. So the payment will be released only after certain period. In the red clause LC, there will be a terms and conditions in the LC document that an advance payment can be made to the exporter. If it is use-on LC or the LC with credit terms, sometimes the LC can be 60 days LC, 30 days LC or 90 days LC. In that case, we can accept that LC payment instead of another payment which is not that safe as the LC payment. Once the shipment is done, you can take the documents to the bank, and the bank will discount. They will take the interest for that 30 days or 60 days and make the payment to the exporter. So once you get the LC, you have to check whether it is a confirmed LC, whether it is irrevocable LC, whether it is a site LC. In such case, if there is no mistakes or if there is no disputes in the LC, the exporter will get paid in full. Next one is the documentary collection method, which is DP or DA. DP means, in this case, the banks are not obliged to pay the exporter, but the exporter will submit the documents to the bank, once the documents are submitted to the bank, the exporter bank will send these documents to the buyer's bank. Once the buyer's bank receives the documents, they will call the importer or the buyer to make the payment before the release of the these documents, so that the buyer can take his goods. So this is a safe method, but if you have a ECGC coverage and which country you are using. And the next one is the document against pay acceptance. In this case, the exporter will submit the documents to the exporter's bank, and the exporter's bank or the seller's bank send the documents with the bill of exchange. Here it is a note which says the buyer will pay the amount after certain period of time. So once the documents are sent to the buyer's bank, the buyer bank will notify the importer. Once the buyer comes to collect these documents from his bank, he has to sign the bill of exchange agreeing to pay for the goods in certain number of days. Only then the exporter will receive the payment after the buyer pays to the buyer's bank. So here the buyer's bank is not in obligation to pay the exporter as in case of letter of credit. So this is not a safest method, but the South Asian countries, they do most of the exports on document against acceptance. So if you have a known relative in some other country, you can use this method. While your buyer asks for DP or DA payment, in such case, you have to check the buyer's credit with ECGC. They will charge about 3000 rupees. And if the credit reports are good, you have to take the opinion of your bank as well. If the bank also gives a good opinion about your buyer, then you can choose the DP or DA method. DA method is not better method when you do not know the buyer for the first instance, or when you are exporting for the first time. The document against acceptance method is also called a CAD or CAD method in US. Next one is the open sales account. This is the most used payment method in the international trade, about 80 to 85%. This account or this payment method is used when there is a trust between the exporter and importer, or they have been doing the business for several years, for 5 or 6 years. In this case, the banks are not involved. So once the exporter is done with exporting, or the ship they have loaded the ship and the ship goes to the buyer's country, the documents has to be sent directly to the buyer. Here it is a credit sales, like how the domestic sales are done. The credits are done in for 30 days or 15 days or 20 days or whatever the days, the agreement between the exporter and the importer. This is definitely not safe for the first time exporter, unless and otherwise you have your own importing company in the another country. Next one is the consignment method. In this case, the buyer will pay only after selling the goods to the his customers. So this is even worse than the open sales account method. So when you are a new exporter, it is better to ask for advance payment. There is nothing wrong in asking advance payment, because in the case of advance payment, the buyer do not get any bank charges to do the establish any payment instrument or payment documents or any kind of terms. So once you have done the exports on the advance payment method, it is better to send the documents through bank, or you can send it directly to the buyer. But if it is a partial advance payment, say 50 or 60 or anything up to 50% of advance payment, it is better to send him only the scanned copy and only the bill of lading, so that he cannot use those documents to take his products. So once he gets the confirmation of bill of lading, he will make the remaining payment. So you can ask for an advance payment from your buyer. In case of contracts, if you are getting an export order for 2 years or 3 years, that time LC can be used. But when you are using a LC payment method, you have to be very cautious to make sure each and every terms that is included in the LC are correct and it's exact. Even if there is a spelling difference, say for example, if you are exporting sarees, the sarees spelling we use SAREE. If there is a difference in the LC and it is mentioned as SARE or SARI, then if you have not checked it and if you have not amended the LC before accepting the LC and you have done the shipment, and if when you go for submitting your documents and getting the payment, that time it will be a dispute and there will be reduction in payment. So you have to be very cautious when you are choosing the LC payment. In the next session, we will see about the trade finance. Thank you.